2025 marks one of the most competitive UFC seasons ever, with new stars emerging while legends defending their legacy. High finish rates, record-breaking performances, big upsets, and dominant title reigns across multiple divisions. This is the Rhythmbetz 2025 recap. I will be breaking down my favorite UFC debuts, subs, knockouts, fight of the year, female fighter of the year, male fighter of the year, and also, last but not least, the UFC card of the year. I'll be going from worst to best. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get into it. All right, we're going to be starting off with the best UFC debuts of 2025. And here are the four nominees coming at you. Ethan Ewing. Now, he came in short notice versus Malcolm Wellmaker, really put on a performance. Safety guy, went right back to work after the performance and really shocked the world. He was a pretty hefty underdog, and I didn't see it coming. And you got to give it to him. That was one of the most impressive debuts to come in there and stop a guy with that type of hype. So there's our first nominee. Next up, David Martinez. He came in, had a few good wins this year. He had that first round stoppage versus Salman Alvivera, really making a name for himself. He also has a sister in the UFC. Really excited to see what he got coming forward. Good young prospect in the lighter divisions. Next up, we got Atiba Gutierrez. Now, he had a couple also good wins this year. Very explosive, nasty finishes. Definitely a prospect to look in the future, especially if he can clean up and get a lot more technical. He's going to be a problem coming forward in these later years. Then we got Josh Hokett. Now, Josh Hokett came in and yes, it was a nice finish, but for me, it was just the aura that he created after that win with that speech, calling out Volter Walker, and I think he deserves some good matchups. I know he's going to go against Denzel Freeman coming in the Paramount era next year. So really excited to see this guy in the heavyweight division and the grappling and the good striking. So looking for him as a future prospect in the UFC. And the Rhythmbetz best UFC debut is going to go to Iwo Baranowski. Now, he had that fight with Ibo Aslan, and that was one of, if not the best round of the year. He went in there on the UFC debut versus a killer who puts people out and gave it all he got. Got rocked a few times. I was scared he was going to go down. I had an official play with him on it, and he fought through the storm and ended up getting a brutal finish that just topped the charts right there. And for the debut coming in, I know he had the good amount of experience beforehand, but that type of debut deserves the best one of the year for Rhythmbetz right here. So Iwo Baranowski. All right, now we're gonna lock it up with the best subs of 2025. All right, we're gonna be starting off with Gene Silva. He had that nasty, I want to say it was an anaconda choke versus Bryce Mitchell. A heated matchup leading up to that fight. The bark afterwards, just the disrespect on him, and he really put a guy out who was an elite grappler, and you got to give it to him. That was a beautiful finish there. Great lead up to the fight. Got to give him his props. For the next nominee, Mackenzie Dern. I want to say she had that impressive armbar versus Amanda Ribas. This girl ended up becoming the champion later on in the year, just displaying, that really showed how well she was, and I want to say these picks aren't just the exact moment. It's the lead up, it's the timing, the aura behind it. So keep that in mind, everyone, as you're watching. But Mackenzie Dern, definitely one of the nominees for best subs of the year. That armbar was nasty. All right. Now we're gonna go into Islam Makhachev. Now this is gonna be versus the fight versus Renato Moicano. Yes, it was a very mid defense, late notice, but the way he sunk that in, oh my gosh, brought the arm under the head, locked it. Man, I can't even think. I think it's the triangle choke or something. Not the triangle. I can't even remember the exact choke, but it was beautiful. Um, you gotta throw that up there. Championship defense right there. That's why this made it up there. Now, well, the last nominee, Charles Oliveira, he had just some people were counting him out. I wasn't, but I didn't think I thought he was gonna knock Gamrot out. I didn't think he was just gonna come out there and get the sub. Beautiful. Everyone was happy. I think the whole UFC community was happy to see this. All props to Charles Oliveira here for a great sub. One of the nominees. Congratulations. Excited to see what he still has left in the tank versus Max Holloway. We'll talk about that fight next year though. So now the UFC Rhythmbetz 2025 best sub of the year is going to be subs of the year, and that's going to Walter Walker with the 4 consecutive heel hooks. You gotta give it to the guy. It can't be stopped. It's not versus the best competition, but he did 4 consecutive heel hooks in a row, and that just, it needs to be talked about. And that is the UFC Rhythmbetz subs of the year, all going to him. 4 in a row. Love to see it. Let's see this next year if he's going to get a 5th. Yeah, excited to see what this guy has, all right? All right, now here are going to be the nominees for the best KOs of 2025. Some devastating blows this year. Really excited to get in this one. Now let's get into the nominees, starting off with Quillen Salkilled. Now he came in. A lot of people were down him on the matchup versus Nasrat Hospira, and first round within the few seconds, got a devastating head kick, put him out. I don't even think he made it to the final announcements of the fight. Just young fighter. I had a lot of faith in him. I really like his other performances. Some people say they're subpar, but he's showing that he has elite striking, elite grappling. I think he's a force to be reckoned with coming in to the UFC. Quillen Salkilled opening it up for the nominees now. Next up is going to be Mauricio Rufy. That spinning wheel kick was devastating versus Bobby Green. He really put him out as well. Showcasing his striking once again. Ended up getting finished by Benoit Saint Denis later in the year, but that we're not talking about the best fighter here. We're just talking about the best KOs, and that was a devastating heel hook versus Bobby Green, and you gotta respect the skill like that with those spinning attacks. All right. Next nominee. Now, I was on the fence with this one, Yuri Prochazka. I almost wanted to make this the best, but I had to remove my bias somewhat from this recap. So he's coming in as one of the nominees, but he had a devastating finish versus Khalil Roundtree. What a fight. Ended up just putting him on the canvas after losing the first round and then just giving it all. Typical Yuri Prochazka fight. You guys know the drill. And yeah, one of the nominees this year, and I'm glad he made it. All right. Next up, Ilia Topuria. He knocked out someone that couldn't have been knocked out or never have been knocked out. And that's why he's one of the nominees. I might get backlash for him not being the number 1, but this is Rhythmbetz here. So, but Ilia Topuria, one of the nominees, still on a run. Right now he's out of the UFC, so dealing with other issues, relationship wise. Don't have a lot of details on all that except for what you're seeing on social media and all the bait and all that other stuff. But as far as it goes, he had one of the cleanest knockouts this year versus Charles Oliveira in the first round, and ready to see who he knocks out next year if he comes back. All right, now with the Rhythmbetz best knockout of 2025 is going to go to Diego Lopez. arguably was losing the fight versus Gene Silva. Just came off a loss versus Volkanovski. People were counting him out. I cashed huge on this knockout. I called the Diego Lopez knockout, and you gotta give it. You gotta give that losing down, spinning elbow out of nowhere versus a scary guy like Gene Silva, a guy that was on a streak, finishing everybody. Diego Lopez showed that he's still ready to fight for the belt, and that's why he's getting another title shot. All right, so best KO, Diego Lopez. Now let's get into the fight of the year, 2025 best fight, the banger of the year. All right. Nominee first will be Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Just a great championship fight. Umar showed his high level and just kind of got out cardioed in that fight. He just didn't have the same intensity in those later rounds that Merab had, and Merab just kind of put his hands up and had fun out there and was able to get it. But it was a great fight, high level fight. Definitely deserved to be one of the nominees this year. Next up, we got Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. Now, this was just a great fight in itself, along with Volkanovski making his return, defending the belt, Diego Lopez going for the belt for the first time, both putting it on the line. Last second knockdown by Diego Lopez, and he wanted, to engage and get the finish, and Volkanovski showed his experience and his wisdom and ended up getting the win, getting the points, just being the smarter fighter and the more experienced fighter, and showing. And I know a lot of people love to see Volkanovski, regain himself, regain that belt, show that he's back. So I know a lot of people love to see that. All right. Next nominee had to be up here. He made it twice on the awards. It has to be another award. We got Iwo Baranuski versus Ibo Aslan. I talked about this earlier. These guys threw it, put everything on the line. I didn't know who was going to win at one point. You got to love a fight when it's very competitive and there's a lot of swings and you still don't know who's going to win. They're just both cracking each other, putting each other down. Thank God the ref let that fight go because, shout out to the ref. Whoever ref that fight, I can't remember, but shout out because that was an amazing fight. Got to give it to these guys. Welcome to the nominee list of the Rhythmbetz of 2025 awards. All right. Now we got JDM versus Bilal Muhammad. Coming into this fight, I was on the train of saying Bilal Muhammad was kind of a boring fighter, and he just did what he needed to do to win. And even though he lost in this fight, he showed that that's not true and that he has that dog in it. So I got to give it to him. This was an amazing fight. JDM ended up taking the belt from him and showed his high level and showed his elite striking, and they busted each other up. And this was just an amazing fight. Glad I got to see this. Thank you guys. That was amazing. Yeah. That's why this made the nominee list. All right. Now, the fight of the year. This shouldn't even be a question. Brandon Royval and Joshua Van here. These guys went at it. Rounds of just they had like almost 600 combined strikes or something like that in like a 3-round fight, which is ridiculous. And both of these fighters are known for the hands, known for putting it out there. It was just an amazing fight. Joshua Van had him hurt real bad, knocked down in the last little bit. Even though Brandon Royval got more strikes, Joshua Van just had the more significant ones when it was all said and done. So very back and forth fight, and they both really displayed their heart and skill at the same time. Fight of the year, Brandon Royval and Joshua Van. Let's give it up for them. This was an amazing fight. All right, now we're getting into the best fighter of the year awards for 2025. No nominees here. We're getting straight to the mustard. Opening up with, drumroll, Mackenzie Dern is the best female fighter. Great finishes throughout the year. Showed elite submission display. Reasserted herself as a dominant force in the UFC. And just against high-profile contenders. Ended up taking the belt back. I doubted her. I thought Virna was going to pull it off. and Mackenzie Dern came and showed some elite skill. Gotta give it to her. She is the best female fighter of the year. Rhythmbetz thanks you for doing your thing out there. All right, now with the best male fighter of the year, I think you just have to give it to him. Another one that made it on here twice. We're gonna go with the Dagestani Islam Makhachev. Defended at the beginning of the year and then moved up in weight. Took the belt from JDM, a very great fighter. Is still active, didn't leave, remains with his, media presence and the humor, and had a little short film on him, and you got to give it to Islam Makhachev. He's just showing greatness right now. We are witnessing it before our eyes. He is going to honestly end up being probably one of the best fighters of our generation. If he continues in the route he's going, he might surpass John Jones eventually. Who knows? That loss won't mean nothing after a while, especially if he can defend his belt in a few divisions or a couple, or however whatever his ceiling is. And best male fighter, Islam Makhachev for 2025. Thank you for an incredible year, especially as a big fan of the Dagestanis. All right. Now, again, we're not going to have any nominees for this one. The big shebang. And actually, we got someone coming in 3 times on this card. You know who it is. You know what card it is. As of recent, UFC 322. It was stacked. It was stacked all the way to the early prelims. Double championship fight in the division of the championship. In the welterweight division, there was some knockouts coming. A lot of potential for the UFC with that card. This showed that 2026 is going to be an exciting year. That's what this card showed. It wasn't even about the fight. It was about what came after all this. Michael Morales getting the finish, Protez getting the finish, Benoit getting the finish. All this is title contention now. That's what we're talking. This was just an amazing card, some good upsets. Got to give it to UFC 322 right there at the Madison Square Garden in New York. A great venue for this event. I was honored to have watched this. Got a couple units off on this. Had a good profitable night. UFC 322 best card of the year for 2025. Rhythmbetz, thanks you. Now that wraps up the Rhythmbetz Awards. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was a great year. I'm excited for the Paramount era. I will be breaking down the first video of the year for UFC 324, Pimlet versus Gaethje. I will be breaking it down as always, giving my picks and predictions on the entire card, starting from the prelims to the final fight of the evening. Tune in for that. And as always, if you like the beats, please tune in, tap in with me. I will send them through email. We can work something out. Go ahead, like and subscribe to the channel. Go follow the Instagram, hop on the Juice World, and I am also on X/Twitter. I also want to wish everyone here a happy new year. Chase your dreams, get to the bag this next year. Follow your boy if you want to cash out on some big plays in 2026. Thank you guys for tuning in.